Hello and welcome to the Metapod of Pokemon TCG podcast that revolves around the evolving meta. We are becoming a morning recording podcast, Sean. Is this like 2 or 3 weeks in a row that we're in the morning?
I don't know about it in a row. I think we might have done one in the evening, but we are finding time where we're not having to like record at night because I think we're both are like, man, if I could get my Monday night back every now and again, that's nice.
Well, I think a lot of it is like usually because I'm streaming in the morning and then I'm streaming over on Twitch and then I go like straight to the office because I got like press releases to go out the wazoo that come out like 1, 2, 3 things like that. But like today I streamed on Easter for like 8, 9 hours because I just had nothing else to do. I was like, I might as well hang out. I don't have work or anything.
Oh yeah,
And I woke up this morning and I was like, oh, I'm hurting. So I took the morning off of that. So
yeah, I saw that you were streaming, Jake. So
yeah, you rated me after your
did.
wonderful Digimon tournament. Thank you for that. And then
yeah.
you gifted a sub. No, wait, you did do it. You did a resub.
Bits. I donated bits. I was already subbed.
You threw bits at me.
But yeah, I was like, I saw it was a 12-month sub, and I'm like, that was a moment where I was like, wait, I first basically discovered, I like, your chat. I say discover, like, I came across you for the first time a year ago. And I think it wasn't much long after that I reached out to you about starting a podcast. So we are getting very close on the 1 year mark.
How many weeks are in a year? Like 54? 52?
And
we're on episode 42, I think.
Yeah, and I think we might have missed like 2 episodes somewhere in there. 2 weeks. Maybe just 1.
I don't know if we missed an episode?
Yes. We've had a week or 2 where we couldn't do it. I think it was over the holidays and stuff.
I trust you. Anyways, we got a lot to talk about today. There was a bunch. Well, there was like the same amount of tournaments as normal, but these tournaments were hefty. So we kind of want to focus a lot on the meta today, but we got a couple of topics before and after that as well that are of interest and intriguing in their own rights. But, the most intriguing part, in my opinion, Sean, it is the wonderful 5-star reviews that our listeners bring. So, Sean, take it away. I think you have the 5-star review this week. Do you?
I'm going to read it. I'm going.
There we go.
Go Tommy Goes. I'm going to go. So this one is a 5-star review from Go Tommy Goes. It's short. It's simple. I love it. Rad dudes. Great show. Some knowledge. Rad dudes keeping it real. True poggers.
True poggers. That's how you know that somebody watches on Twitch, one of our channels, because they say poggers. And you know what, Sean? Poggers to you too.
Poggers to everyone. A merry poggers to you.
I want to say as well, this is brand new to Sean. I just thought of this, but on YouTube, first of all, thank you for everyone who's watching and liking the videos on YouTube. The video versions of the podcast, I very much appreciate you. If you also, maybe you don't leave reviews on Apple because you don't listen on Apple or Spotify or whatever, leave a nice comment. I'll start reading the comments with 5-star reviews. We read a 5-star review, we review a comment. That way, it helps boost up interaction, boosts us up through the algorithm on YouTube. And you know what? I feel like y'all should get shout outs too, because if you're looking at my ugly mug and Sean's beautiful face, you probably deserve to get your comments read as well. So
all right, get that. Yeah, we'll make it a 5-star review and favorite comment from the last episode thing.
It'll basically be titled as like our wonderful audience.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to call it. The wonderful audience segment.
With support from viewers like you. It's the PBS thing.
But Sean, you know what is not wonderful? PSA suspending their card grading services amid TCG interest. I'm pulling this off of PokeBeach.com. This was kind of a big deal. We have seen in the last couple of weeks that PSA, due to the sheer volume that they have started getting since early March, has started to raise their prices. I think they doubled across the board of all of their stuff in terms of grading card services and things like that. But now they're shutting it off completely, Sean.
Yeah. If you have you been following like PSA pricing and all of that stuff?
I have not super intriguingly, but I do know a buddy of mine, content creator, OK J Love, an Australian card opener, collector, does a lot of great stuff, really good creator. I highly recommend jumping on his YouTube channel or Twitch. Great guy. He actually just put out a video about card grading services and how he's pretty much done. And he kind of talks about like the backstory of how like PSA got to this point, with the start of the Luka Doncic card. I don't know if you're aware of that card, the like
Me,
2019 rookie card or whatever.
yeah, I'm aware of Luka Doncic. I would love to get a rookie card from Luka, but they're crazy expensive in
You
BGS
could
10.
have gotten it for like 15 bucks in like March, Sean. But now a PSA 10 graded card apparently goes for like 2,000 Australian dollars, which I don't know what that is in USD, but I know that's a butt ton of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of talks about the history and like why it's a very, very good video. Highly recommend. I won't spoil too much of it. So then you actually go watch the video.
But
But
oh, go ahead.
no, you go.
I was gonna say, like, PSA has raised their prices before this. I think once or maybe even twice, they were raising their prices of their like base level like submission. So like bulk submissions, which is the cheapest, and usually that's done by like third party companies. So you send your cards off to like Ludkins or whatever, and then they send it into PSA as a bulk submission of like 200 plus cards. And so every tier had a price increase to hopefully try to stop people from sending so many cards in, but clearly that didn't work. And then I guess, yeah, PSA is just kind of like, and if you've been following, you know that PSA, like the turnaround times this last year have gotten absurd. Like,
It's literally been like a year
yeah,
for
like some people
people.
will send a card in and then it's 6 months, 9 months, whatever, until they get it back, depending on how much they paid. And so it's just absolutely absurd. And I'll be interested to see how this affects CGC in particular, because if for those of you not familiar, PSA is like the standard is maybe the wrong word, but like the go-to for Pokemon cards for forever.
Mhm.
And you could have sent them into Beckett. That's what, like, if you really want like the most fancy version of a grading, Beckett was like, oh, you can get a BGS 10 and that's better than a PSA 10. But then
Yeah, like
CGC,
the gold star or the black star or
oh
whatever,
yeah,
gold star 10 is like way more than a PSA 10, isn't it?
oh yeah, a black label
Yeah,
BGS
that's
10.
that's the
So, and now CGC has come onto the scene, and I think CGC is going to see a lot more obvious uptick in newer submissions because there's not really anybody else to go to.
I'm sure like both BGS and CGC are gonna shoot and skyrocket in terms of submissions and stuff. Then overall, like their gradings in general will probably become more valuable and stuff. And I'm really curious, one, how long this holdout is gonna be from PSA. Sean, I wonder how long they're gonna do. Are they just gonna wait until they catch up, or are they gonna wait until they expand their business to like open up more grading locations? I don't know what you would call it, hire more employees. Like
Yeah,
I'm not
they
100%
are.
sure how their operation runs,
Yeah, it's just
but
it's hiring and training to grade, right? And that
yeah.
is the bottleneck because there's only so many humans that know how to grade cards, and when you hire a new person, it's not like hiring somebody at an Amazon fulfillment center or whatever. Not that that's the easiest job, but it's not an expertise of like knowing what a card is, understanding how to grade it, and so it's a long process, relative.
I wonder if PSA is like hiring,
They're all
like trying to constantly hire like new people. And because like this has been since March that we've really seen this fluctuation, right? March
yeah.
2020. I mean, it takes a while for a business to like expand and like build new locations and things like that. So this has kind of been like super sped out of the blue.
Yeah, what I would say overall though, I have thought about sending cards in to get graded, and I might start doing them to CGC piecemeal. That's what I was going to do anyways. But broadly speaking, I honestly think like I don't know, man. If you're not trying to flip cards, just don't send them in right now. It's going to be the most expensive to grade the cards that will ever be
Oh yeah.
because once the craze dies down a little bit, it'll open back up. You'll get them faster. It'll cost less. Just like I think you'll actually see a huge rise in the number of people that are selling cards raw on like eBay and stuff rather than trying to chase PSA 10. And yeah, that's what I'd say. It's just, whatever you pull, just hold on to it. If you're a collector, don't worry about this. This is
You
not.
know what you should do? This is what I do. Hold on, I'm digging. Oh. So I've got a great reason to have ETBs. I have this ETB that's like PSA eventual. And so I like put the card in a card saver and I'm like, I will have this card and I just put it in here. And like when I have enough money someday, or when I live next to a PSA grading place, I'm just going to take a lot of these and bring them over to PSA.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the same
I really think that's what you do. Keep your ETB cases and just keep them in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's exactly the funny thing is everyone's like, "Oh, PSA suspending grading services." To be honest though, like the average person doesn't care. The average person is like, "Okay, cool. So my cards, I can't get a graded version of X for a while." Whatever. This only really affects honestly scalpers and flippers, which maybe this will have a positive impact on that if people can't rip and flip with PSA quickly.
How much do you want to bet if you went on eBay right now and you typed in last PSA Charizard ever? Do you think you'd find it and find 5 different listings of last PSA Charizard ever?
I am almost positive somebody is going to write that on eBay, but don't believe it.
I guarantee it. Someone's going to write that. Someone's going to buy it and it's going to sell for a butt ton of money. You heard it here first. Record-breaking Charizard sale on eBay labeled as last ever PSA Charizard. Saying it.
People are just don't believe it. Don't believe it. There's going to be a billion more coming in the next 6 months.
Anyways, Sean, let's move on to the next thing. So, with Silver Lance and Black Jet Poltergeist coming out in Japan here soon, we just found out special art promos for them. This is off of PokeGuardian.com. I love PokeGuardian. As you can see on the screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, this Celebi art, this is the Celebi promo art here, and it is phenomenal. It is absolutely gorgeous on this card. Like these are apparently different cards as well from the Sword and Shield base Celebi V and the Sandaconda V from Rebel Clash. So not only are they getting alternate arts, but they're getting new cards in general. Sandaconda V, I don't know who decided that it should get a second V alternate art, but here we are, Sean.
I'm gonna say, but when I heard Celebi, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And then
Sandaconda, Celebi, like, yeah.
Why Sandaconda? What are you doing?
I don't like Celebi makes sense not only because it's a mythical Pokemon, it's a very beloved Pokemon, but it's also a part of the Zarude movie, the upcoming Zarude movie. Of course, that Celebi is apparently shiny though, so I don't know. It surprises me a little bit that this Celebi is not shiny, but Sandaconda, I got no idea.
So yeah, those watching on YouTube, you can see the Celebi, absolutely gorgeous. The Sandaconda, it's cool.
It's a pretty card, but it's not Celebi.
I will tell you right now, a fourth of the card's art is a radiator. I mean,
you're not wrong.
I'm like, I get you want to put me in a setting, but like, why is so much of this art a radiator? As somebody who lives in New York, I see this all the time. I don't want this on my Pokemon art.
he got to stay warm though, Sean.
I
got to stay warm.
That's fair. Oh, but yeah, what's the interesting thing you were telling me about earlier? Like why this promo in particular is unique?
So this is really intriguing to me. So like I am more apt to like know and buy Japanese products than you, Sean, I think, right?
Yeah.
So when I've bought products, so you buy a box of Dream League, the set that morphed into Cosmic Eclipse, you got a special in the box when you bought it from an LGS, or they call it Pokemon Gym, Pokemon card gym stores. That's what they call it in Japan. That's like the LGSs and stuff in leagues here. But you bought a box of Cosmic Eclipse Dream League, and inside the box, you get like a box top promo of Lillian Clefairy, only available in Japan. In Battle Styles, if you bought both Single Strike and Rapid Strike, you would get a box promo of the Honey full art. And if you bought just the single boxes, so you just bought one Rapid Strike or one Single Strike, you would get a Rillaboom or a Cinderace V. But now with this, we started to get into, if you buy 2 boxes of Silver Lance, you get the promo special Sandaconda. And then if you buy 2 boxes of Jet Black Poltergeist, you get the Celebi. So it's weird that we've seen this like slow increase of promos per se almost. I mean, the battle styles thing kind of makes sense because you're going to get a promo if you buy a single box, and then if you buy them together, you buy 2 of them and you buy them together, cool, you get an additional promo which is like worth more, and cooler per se. But now it's like, it's not buying the 2 boxes together, it's buying, you got to buy 4 boxes to get these 2 promo cards. And it's like, it's not like 4 boxes, you buy like a pair of them and you get one of the promos, and then you buy another pair and you get the other promo. It's like, it's really weird, Sean.
Yeah. And I will say too, knowing that Jet Black Poltergeist is the one that's going to come with Shadow Rider Calyrex.
Yes.
And that's the good one. So I'm like, why did you put the good promo with the good card box? And now that Jet Black Poltergeist is going to be so expensive relative to Silver Lance, I think it's going to be like at least $10, $20 more for a box of Jet Black.
Yeah, I mean, just from that, I mean, here's what you're going to do, though. A lot of people on eBay are not even going to sell the Celebi art to you because those eBay sellers are just like, they're just sellers. They're like me listing this this Nintendo 3DS on the market. They're going to keep the promo. They're going to sell the promo separately, probably. So like, your best bet is probably, if you want this Celebi card, is just go outright buy the single. It's probably gonna be a lot of money, but you know what? It's probably worth it. or if you know people from Japan, have them help you out a little bit.
If you got them Japanese connections.
But I also want to wonder, because this is set by the stores and stuff. I want to know how big like scalping is in Japan, because card prices for Japanese product, at least coming into like the States from like eBay and stuff, it has jumped up a bit. I remember when I could buy a box of Dream League for, $55. Now I think it's like $85 or something like that. And I mean, sets get older and whatever, but the set's not that old.
But I mean,
especially over there.
But I mean, like $85 for any box in America in English is like
it's like 150 now.
Right. So I do think though that like, I think it's going out like Dream League, to your point. Dream League now is going on almost a year and a half old. So that I think is the main reason for that one going up. But like Shiny Star V is the only Japanese set that I think the price is super high because it's just such a good set, right?
Yeah, I wonder if I don't know. I don't know anybody in Japan. I don't know like many like insider knowledge in Japan. I wonder how bad like scalping is. That's when I hear the like 2 box thing. That's what I like wonder, Sean. Like, how bad is it over there? Is it as bad as it is here?
I would
People lining up at game shops fighting for things at Target at 8 a.m.
I mean, from what I hear from SM Pratt, another PokeTuber, he talks about how the Japanese market, the printing to meet demand is much tighter. Meaning it's they're doing a much better job right now at the amount that they print and the amount that people want to buy. It's nothing like the rest of the world. It's nothing like English. So I mean, it's great for if you're a Japanese player, right? If that's the card that you want, everything is cheaper in Japan. So
I mean, they're running tournaments and everything all the time,
right? So
and they just had the regional the other week.
Yeah. So I think if you really want your Pokemon fix, actually, an interesting thing, if you really want your Pokemon fix and you don't care necessarily about English versus Japanese, maybe just switch to Japanese. It's cheaper. You can get product more easily. You could buy. Also, Japanese is going to have all these promos that we'll never see in English. So I don't know. Maybe it's a good time for a collector out there who's tired.
I've been telling people this for like 8 months. I was like, if you want to get into collecting Pokemon cards, like go Japanese. I mean, you don't care anyways what the card says, right? You're not reading the attacks. You're not trying to figure out how busted the card is. you just want the art, right? Like you
Yeah.
love the card for the art and like the rarity and stuff. And it's all there in Japan. They get it
Mhm.
earlier. It's like always cheaper. You want PSAs. The Japanese cards are usually cheaper than the English versions.
If you're a YouTuber and you want to get them clicks, you can open up cards before everybody else has opened up the English stuff.
Yeah,
Oh,
and boom, there you go. You could be
boom.
Neon Cactus, I think is. He's really
Right.
boomed in the last like year, I feel like.
Yeah. So,
He opens up all that stuff.
I mean, Max Mofo, actually, he does open up English, but he's way
Oh, he's
more.
been doing that for a while though.
Yeah, but exactly. But like, he does way more Japanese now because also English is impossible to find. So he's
Oh
sitting here
yeah.
like, I'm not going to overspend on a lot of English product. F it. I'm just going to open Japanese.
Yeah, I mean, work smarter, not harder. That's what my grandpappy always said. But
uh,
Sean, you know what is I don't know how to transition that. There were a lot of tournaments this past weekend and a lot of big ones as well, including 4 consecutive 200 plus player tournaments, almost a 600 player tournament in the Chill TCG Series 25 that had a tropical beach and 300 battle styles on the line. So, yeah, here tropical beach reward, Sean. Yeah, you're going for it, right?
bruh, I mean, like that's crazy. From what I hear, getting a tropical beach online is absurdly expensive,
It
difficult
is.
to find. Um, and yeah, I mean, I will say though, I think is this the biggest?
I
I
think
mean,
I think the 586 players that participated in this did make it out to be the biggest online event on Limitless, I believe. I think like the
outside of
online
maybe,
qualifiers when they were on like Battlefy and stuff or
yeah,
whatever, I think
yeah.
that was bigger
Hmm.
than this. But in terms of playlimitless.com, I believe, don't quote me on that, but I believe this was the biggest event hosted on the platform as of this recording, Sean.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Except for like the Pog championships and the original Limitless qualifiers. Yeah, this is massive.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you want to talk about what we're seeing from the metagame?
So we're not only going to be talking about this. This is the first one of the 4 tournaments. The other 3 were the Limitless Online Series Weekly 25, which Limitless Online Weekly Series has always a butt ton of players for like a weekly tournament. It's absolutely phenomenal. 389 players, Sean.
Hmm.
Hegster Season 3, the Last Chance Qualifier, 260, which I feel like it would have been more if it wasn't a Last Chance Qualifier because, you have a group of people that already have their solidified amount of points or whatever that didn't want to play or whatever. And then the Channel Fireball Showdown, which I think is a little bit more niche, but still had 216 players, along with possibly $2,000 in store credit if you beat the final boss Tord, which ended up happening, Sean.
Oh dang.
So looking at this, the winners of each tournament, Tempozard, Rapid Strike Urshifu with the nets, Eternatus with the power plants, and also, again, Eternatus with the power plants. So we talk about Eternatus being dead. Sean, it won 2 of these 4 tournaments.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the record right now for the Tropical Beach one. Is that Tempo's art or Blounds? Or are they just using? Yeah, it's
It
Tempo's
is
art.
like morphed into Tempozard. It's using the picture of Blounds, but it's like
Got
it's
it.
all called Tempozard at this point, Sean. Unless you're playing like a one of Blacephalon, it's all just called Tempozard pretty much.
I mean, I will say, like, I'll open the image here for the viewers on YouTube's. Um, Temposard, I played in my team challenge, right, as well this last weekend. Our team, unfortunately, we lost. It was hard fought, 5-4, lost in the last round. But I think Temposard was such a good pick for our opponents because the math is just it's such an awkward matchup for so many decks. I was playing Victini VMAX, and the math for Victini VMAX is horrendous against Temposard. Um, and yeah, Temposard, they have like you have Reshi, which is beefy enough and can deal out a lot of damage, and then yeah, but it's a 3 prizer. And then you have Blounds that can deal out an unlimited amount of damage, uh, and and then you got Cram that can snipe the bench. It's like I don't know, man. It's just like unless they whiff Welder, it feels like they have it, right?
Yeah, they have it every single time. And then you have the consistency cards in there to make sure you don't hit Welder. You have those Jirachis
Hmm.
that we've seen from Team Up. Stellar Wish has been around a long, long, long time, Sean. You got Dedenes, Crobats, Oricorio. Draw 3 cards after Pokemon's knocked out. Oh, Blound gets knocked out or something like that. Ooh, draw 3 cards. You got that Mewtwo there to put the Welder back on top of the deck. You just have a lot of stuff to be able to not only aggressively draw and find exactly what you need, but as you were mentioning, the deck is so versatile. It's so versatile in the things that it wants to do. We can decide, okay, we want to snipe Dedenne this turn, or we even want to get a Oricorio or a Crobat with that Zigzagoon, using the nets. We can blast something for 300 like an ADP. We can use Blacephalon to blast an ADP if we want to, depending on what Pokemon we even start. Like, there's
Yeah.
so many options. It's
Yeah.
insane.
I mean, if it were me, like if I was looking into, we wanted to talk about like these decks in the context of like, some early thoughts on Players Cup 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say this is definitely near the top for me if I was going to play Players Cup 4. Because you think about making a run into, all those grinding all your keys basically. And you want to pick a deck that's going to be consistent enough and can win a lot of the different matchups you put it against, right? And this deck is one of those decks, right? There are no, I don't at least see any super hard counters to this. Like maybe Eternatus Power Plant will stop you from drawing into another Welder, right? But outside of that, there's not a lot that can, I think, beat this super easily. I mean, ADPZ, if they're playing like a Zigzagoon Ping or a Rusty Sword, you take 4 prizes on a Zard, you take 2 prizes on a Blounds or a Jirachi and Dunzo. But I don't know. I think this is a very good pick because it has such a good matchup spread.
Yeah, I feel like your toughest matchups, are not finding Welder. That's like honestly your
Yourself.
toughest matchup in
Your
this
toughest
deck.
matchup is
But
yourself.
also I think like Spiritomb is like the toughest matchup. And Spiritomb's good, but not a lot of people like are able to sequence that deck appropriately to be able to actually do well because that deck is so you
It's a
gotta
big
be
brain.
perfect with it almost at times.
Yeah, you're right. Spiritomb is that was my other option that I was thinking about playing actually for my team challenge. And I played it and it was good, but I was just like, even if you are good at sequencing, sometimes like you don't have the right cards in the right order to get that damage onto Spirit. It can be awkward, I think, sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what stops me from ultimately picking it, which I think grinding a Players Cup 4 with Spiritomb, you're just asking to be
Makes your head
exhausted.
hurt.
Yeah, you're like that. Don't do it to yourself. It's like grinding it with control. Don't do it to yourself.
I will say though, the top 8s, I'll go through the list of like I went through all these tournaments and I recorded the top 8s of like how many people or I'm sorry, how many archetypes featured in top 8. We had 5 of them, 5 Eternatus, Sean. 5 different Eternatus decks, 2 being the winners of tournaments, and then 3 others that managed to squeak their way into the top 8s. Victini variants, I think it was a equal 2-2 of Mewtwo Victini and then just regular Victini made their way into the top 8. Rapid Strike Urshifu nets, exclusively nets, no Cincino versions, no just regular Urshifu versions. The version that plays 4 nets, in my mind, this is the best version of Urshifu, having played the Cincino version, the net version, the regular version. This, in my mind, is the best version to play it as of right now, Sean. Don't mind the Electro Charger in Azul Gigi's list if you're watching this on
Oh, was
YouTube.
that a meme?
This is part of a stream dare that he's got, like a reward for subs and whatnot. Choose a card to put in my deck. But honestly, it worked out in his favor because Electro Charger is the perfect quick ball fodder. But if you want to take this list, just change an Electro Charger with like a Pokecom of something of the sorts. That's what he recommended as like the best option. But either way, even with a 59 card deck, Sean, this deck is good. He placed like what, top 4, I think?
Yeah, let's see here.
I think he was top 4 in this tournament.
He was 5th. 5th.
Oh, fifth. I'm sorry. Still very, very good. But and then Rahul Reddy ended up
Oh, no, no.
winning
I think
with.
he actually got second. He ended up technically. Oh, no, 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 no. Okay. So there's like so much on this. Let's
Yeah, you got
see.
to scroll over, Sean.
Got to scroll over. Yeah, it was 5th. So.
Yeah, but Rahul Reddy ended up winning the next event, I believe. That was the Limitless Online Series. Yeah, with the Urshifu Rapid Strike deck with the Nets. Not playing the Electro Charger, sadly, but
Obviously.
playing a great catcher. Playing, I think he replaced
Oh, he's got a Cheryl in
the
this list.
yeah, he placed the Electro Charger with the Cheryl. Cheryl is a good card. I mean, especially after you use that second attack off of Urshifu VMAX, you're discarding your energies anyway. You get hit, you survive. Wow, free Cheryl, and then you can switch and do a Gale Thrust.
And so in terms of like the Nets version, right? You obviously you have the variety of options of Jirachi, Giratina, and especially Mewtwo. I think for me that is the extra bit maybe that makes this interesting is you can just fish out whatever supporter you want.
Well, the thing is with like Urshifu, I mean that second attack does 120 damage. There's a lot of times where you are like, I've found out while playing this deck before the Nets, like playing the Encino version, a lot of times when I want to use that second attack, I'm 10 damage short, you know? So that Zigzagoon, especially with the Nets, since you're playing the Jirachis off the Stellar Wish, the Giratina, the Mewtwo's, that's a perfect opportunity to get that last damage counter that you need for something like an ADP, right? Because ADP has 280 or base HP. Gale Thrust is 150. The Rapid Strike, the Shingma is 120. That's 270. You're 10 damage short, right? And that's just one situation of that, in my personal opinion.
I like that.
Provides the flexibility.
Yeah, I gotta play around with this deck. I think this looks really good, and it's interesting. We're back on that train of like I guess Rapid Strike is very good, just straight up. I guess that's the best.
I mean,
version.
Rapid Strike in my mind, Rapid Strike has been the better version of the Urshifu coming out. But like one-on-one, if you were to face Rapid Strike versus Single Strike, I think Single Strike wins that matchup most of the time, in my personal opinion.
Now,
but
one thing I'm not seeing in these lists, and I'm just going to throw this out there because I think it might have been Zapdos TCG or somebody mention this, and I think it's a good call. I think throwing in like a one of Gengar Mimikyu GX into a Rapid Strike list is actually a very interesting tech. Because, you think about the Dragapult Rapid Strike combo, right? But instead of doing Dragapult, you just do Gengar Mimikyu. And the reason being, if you get the GX attack off first turn, right? Like this deck, it has no GX attack. You're not using any GX attack ever. So the option, at least, to say, I'm going to stop you playing any card can be filthy, I think.
I just like the thing about that is just like the energy attachment. If you're not playing like the Dragapult version of Urshifu, like look at this list right here. You have your fighting energies and you have your Rapid Strike energies. Now you have to go find the Aurora energies or something like that to be able to actually play this deck. And if Urshifu Nets is the best version, we saw 4 people do top 8 with this archetype, this specific version of Rapid Strike Urshifu. You're going to lose all of your energies, playing mostly special energies because they're just going to Tina, scoop up net, Tina, scoop up net, Tina, scoop up net. You're only going to be able to Gale Thrust at all in the game, which there's sometimes where you want to finish out a game sniping things on the bench.
Yeah, that's true. You right.
I'm also surprised that this doesn't play the Mew. You've got people sitting on the bench with like your Jirachi, your Dedenne, your Mewtwo, Crobat, Zigzagoon, Jirachi, backup Urshifu. Surprises me that there's no Mew in this matchup. Mew has been very prevalent in the list as of right now.
Interesting.
I will say though, Pikarom also had 4 appearances in top 8. Pikarom slowly coming back. I think, in the Limitless Online Series, it plays 2nd and 3rd. So Pikarom and Eternatus, I mean, Pikarom doing that one thing yet again where people are saying it's dead, but psych. It's like that meme, Sean, where it's the robber like robbing an old person. And the old person's like, "Oh, you're gonna have to call the hospital." And then they pull out the gun and they're
But
like,
not for
"But
me.
for you." That's
It's
that's like what Pikarom reminds me of because it does it time and time again. But we're looking at this list now. This is the second place Pikarom list, I believe.
yes, from the Limitless series.
Yeah, so again, heavy on the Bolton like we usually do. This list doesn't really change anything up from battle styles. Does have a tag switch. I think tag switch is a very, very good card in my opinion, because there's sometimes where, maybe you want to move an energy off a Pikarom or Mewtwo or Raichu onto your Boltund, and then boom, the Mewtwo's are good for the Urshifu matchup. You
Yep.
can sneak it. I mean, probably at this point because it's open deck list, your opponent is going to know
That you
like,
have
oh, you
Mewtwo.
play a or you play Mewtwo. I'm gonna get this Jirachi out so then my Mewtwo doesn't get absolutely slapped
Yeah.
by like a tandem shock or whatever, or a Bolton or not a Bolton play, but you know what I mean, Sean. But
Yeah.
very, very good list. Pikarom, again, that Bolton starting out is super good, and then Full Blitz is just a bonkers attack, Sean.
I mean, there's a card that came out, I think like a week ago. I bought a few of the boxes, the Blastoise VMAX.
Hmm.
And the Blastoise VMAX it's kind of a Pikarami attack. Its first attack on the VMAX is 120, and you can add 3 water energy to your Pokemon in any way you like. The crazy thing though is like why just 120? Pikarom does 150. What happened to the power creep, Pokemon? Why 120?
Yeah, they're inching it back, Sean. I wonder if that Blastoise VMAX gets better post rotation with like Pikarom going away, with all these other cards going away, Egro even. What's it
Yeah,
weak to?
lightning.
Oh yeah,
But
when
it's a
Pikarom goes
water.
away.
It's a water that's not weak to metal, so that's good.
Yeah, thank goodness. A nice pair with Frostmoth,
I think
but
you could do a Blastoise, Melanie, Lapras deck maybe. That could be interesting.
I don't Sean, go ahead and make
Anyways,
it. Go ahead
anyways,
and make it. Put it on a YouTube video.
but I think that it's interesting to see that they reduced the damage on Blastoise because I think they realized that 150 for full blitz is just too much, right?
It's a lot.
Doing 150 and accelerating 3 energy, I think that's Pokemon realizing, wow, this card can't die because 150 is just too good.
I mean, that guarantees a two-shot on everything in the format at the time when this
Yeah,
was released. And now Blastoise has to three-shot.
that's pretty bad. It's so bad.
Oh boy. But you know what's not bad, Sean? Tempo's Art and Mad Party and ADPZ along with Welder Mew3 each having 3 appearances in the top 8 in general. Mad Party kind of surprising, not gonna lie.
Where's the Mad
And
Party? Oh, here's the Mad Party. Doc Hudson and the Hexter.
yeah, Hexter had 2 of the 3 appearances in the top 8. Mad Party, good. Level Ball, just an absurd card. With Mad Party, Whimsicott, all of these decks that you want to build that have these small little Pokemon. And I think it just gets so much better with Level Ball, in my honest opinion, Sean.
Yeah,
But
you're absolutely. I mean, I'm wondering like what he lost to ADPZ, OBS, but then yeah, he didn't play any other ADPZs the entire tournament.
the trend that I'm seeing is ADPZ has definitely dipped in terms of how it's doing in top. It's constantly the number 1 deck played, Sean, in terms of meta shares. Across these 4 events, it averaged out 12.2825% across the 4 tournaments in terms of the metagame, the most popular deck by far. But I think what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of these other decks take out ADPZ and take out that ADP as soon as it alter creations, which a lot of times, if you knock out an ADPZ as soon as it alter creations, you almost like always win,
Hmm.
unless they get the absolute stones and hit all their metal saucers attachment and
Mhm.
boss in that one hand. But anyway, Sean, you get them from Ultimate Ring. That sways you very, very far in this matchup. And look at these decks that are in the top. You got Eternatus with
Mm.
that has the ability to one shot, with the Zigzagoon pings and then also putting the Pokemon down with a very, very low attachment. You have the Victini variants, especially with the Mewtwo. We still have that Charizard GX from Hidden Fates that does 300 off of 4 energies. on that GX move. That's a very powerful GX move, especially in that matchup. That swings that favor very, very well. You have Urshifu Nets, you know, that Gale Thrust. You could do that early, and then you finish it off, like I mentioned, with the Goon Pings and the nets and the swing to place damage in a lot of places. You have the Pikarom. Pikarom, always been a good card, always been an okay matchup against ADPZ, continues to be an okay matchup against ADPZ. And then another one, Tempozard. Tempozard, you know, not only the Blacephalon, like we were talking about earlier, having an uncapped potential and damage, but also the Reshiram and Charizard hitting that GX move for 300 if it's got a bunch of energies on it. And then Mad Party with level balls getting better. That has the ability to one-shot ADP as well. Even two-shot, to be honest. Even two-shot, because you can go second as Mad Party, hit with the Benelby, you know, and then their second turn, which is turn 3 of the game, they alter creation. This ADP has already been chipped for like, what, 120 damage maybe? So it's got like 160 left. That's only 2 more Mad Partiers to put in the discard. That's very easy for this deck. And so, like, this is the thing. Like, a lot of these decks now are emerging that have the ability to get this huge damage output very early. That's honestly dropped ADPZ. It's still very relevant. It's still very good, in my opinion, because a lot of people know how to play it. A lot of people are good with it. There's a lot of kind of different techs and stuff that you can play around with for different matchups. But it's starting to fall, Sean, in my opinion.
I mean, I'm trying to like think of. There's one deck I have it pulled up here, which is Decidueye. I'm trying to figure out why Decidueye isn't. Is it, you know, why is this a bad meta call? What do you think?
Because you have stage 2s.
I mean, Decidueye's always been stage 2s, right? And I think a week or two ago, Decidueye won a tournament in the Battle Styles format.
Yeah, it can win tournaments, but it has to. I mean, think about these decks also that are able to do it. You know, Urshifu. You know, I think it was Azul when he was playing that Urshifu list. He was like 1 turn away from beating a Decidueye deck because of the ability to not only constantly gust, to move around and hit different things, you know, on the field. You know that if you can catch, if they only get 1 Rowlet out at a time, it is very easy to just constantly chase that Rowlet. You know, and especially if they like maybe prize the Mew or they can't find the Mew right away, you know, because they value like another Rowlet instead of the Mew. That also makes it incredibly easy to use that second attack because you know they're not knocking you out turn 1. They can only do 90 damage on you at one time. So you pile on that energy and then you snipe 2 Rowlets, Dartrixes, things like that. Yeah. It's like, but here's the thing. Also, you get things like Tempozard, you know, that Blacephalon obliterates you. You know, Welder, like Victini VMAXs play that Volcanion, absolutely obliterate you. I can't remember which tournament it was, but somebody in their Eternatus list played a Phoebe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense because also that'll let you hit through Zamazenta. So if you're playing up against a Luke Metal, I actually, because I was worried in my team challenge, was playing Victini VMAX, and I don't have any, you know, there's no, what's it called?
There's no answer to Decidueye or Luke Metal,
right?
Or I'm sorry, or like Zamazenta.
Yeah, I don't have any Volcanions or anything in it. So I actually was like, you know what? I threw in 1 Phoebe. I never used it because none of my opponents had those decks, but I did put in 1 Phoebe because I'm like, all right, we'll see.
The thing about Decidueye, it's only good when people are not prepared for it, right? I mean, like, if it gets into the top 8, it can do pretty well. It can do pretty well because usually those people in the top 8 don't really think about Decidueye at all. It's the rounds as you're progressing through the tournament that people are prepared for Decidueye, in my opinion. Also, that Luke Metal matchup is so hard.
Yeah, because you end up doing no damage, and it's just who decks out first.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because Luke Metal, even though, you know, you didn't hear me say it in the top 8s, Luke Metal was like the 3rd most popular deck in the chill event of like 600 people. Had like 7% of the metagame, I believe. So it's just, it's tough sometimes. You know, you hit 1 Blacephalon in top 8 and it's almost over, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think of like, I don't know. For me, I just think that, a Decidueye did get into top 8,
Yeah, but
it
look what
looks
it
like.
faced. It faced
Yeah.
ADPZ that had no answer, and then who did it face before that?
Let's see here. Oh man, I lost it. I lost it. There we go. There's the Desi. So it lost to a Mad Party. That's a bad matchup. It lost to a
Well,
Luke Metal.
I'm talking about like top cuts. So top 16 faced a Rapid Strike, got no answer to that, win.
Yep. Victini
Or I mean, if
VMAX.
you can set up like Decidueye's got no answer,
Yeah.
win. You got Victini VMAX. If they're not like playing Volcanians and stuff, win. ADPZ, they're not playing Phoebe
Aegislash.
or literally Aegislash, win. So it's like it's not necessarily cheese wins, Sean, but it's like anything. If you're not prepared to play against control, you're probably going to lose. If you don't know how to play against control, you're probably going to lose.
So for me though, this is where I think one could, after all this weekend's events, one could make a meta call, look at all the lists and say, I'm accepting that I will lose to Mad Party, probably. Although the ability to snipe those 20 pings to 2 bench Pokemon is
You
not
can
nothing.
win. You can definitely play that matchup, especially if you play Zigzagoons.
Yes.
If you play like maybe like a Zigzagoon, you don't have to play the full Obstagoon line. But if you play the Zigzagoons, you can definitely win that matchup.
So that's what I'm thinking though, is like, if you're making a meta call, I think maybe you look at Decidueye, you look at this, because Decidueye is the kind of deck that it requires an understanding, similar to Control. It requires an understanding of a metagame to say, okay, this is how I need to build this version of it for now. And I think that it's like a good call. And if you were to like, post meta that decision, knowing that maybe Decidueye gets played a little bit more this next week, I think that a lot of these decks that are playing Nets and Mewtwo, I do think it's worth it to put in one Phoebe. Because if you have a way to recover your supporter, whether that's Eldegoss or Mewtwo, I think putting in one Phoebe and saying, is this potentially a dead card? Maybe. In a lot of matchups, yes, it will be dead. But
so was the Electro Charger.
Right. But that's the thing. You can have, it's okay to have one card that's dead in a lot of matchups. If it's like having that card means that I can potentially auto win an auto loss, like that to me, like that's if I was playing in these next week events and not playing Decidueye, I might start finding a space for one, because I do think Decidueye might start to be a really interesting call if somebody tweaks the list, right? To make it easier to win. I don't know.
Here's a great quote from Azul that I heard on his stream. Let everybody else tech for Decidueye. Because if they all tech for Decidueye, they'll beat the Decidueyes, and Decidueye will once again only have one top 8 appearance across these 4 tournaments, and you won't have to worry about it.
Sure. I mean, yeah, like, Azul can say let everybody else tech for it, and then he doesn't have to, and then his deck is just better.
Well, he is also just a better player.
Right. He's just a very good player. So, like, for us plebes, throw in a Phoebe.
I will say, though, in terms of the meta shares, the average percentage per tournament, Victini variants had an 11.6%. I mentioned the ADPZ had a 12.28% share. Luke Metal had 4.59, which it had that 7% in chill. But then aside from that, it was almost non-existent. It was kind of weird. But with all the fire variants, it doesn't honestly surprise me. Rapid Strike Urshifu, 8.13%. Sean, it is a very fun list. It is a cool list. People liked Golisopod when it was around. Golisopod is back, baby. But it's fighting. It's bopping Eternatus and it's bopping Pikarom. Pikarom had a 7.17 share, kind of increasing and doing well again. And then Eternatus, 6.5% share. So that is your coverage of the meta.
I would love to
from
see
the Metapod.
Yeah, if anybody out there has been playing the game for many years that listens to the pod, let us know if you've ever seen a meta share where only 2 decks are above 10% over the course of like 4 plus events that have 200 plus players. Like, I think that's, to me, that feels like a pretty broad meta if only 2 decks are at more than 10%.
I feel like so here's the thing when I first think is like Zoroark. Zoroark dominant card. But the thing about Zoroark is you could pair it with a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
You could play just straight Zoroark. You could play Zoroark Control. You could play Zoroark Decidueye. You could play Zoroark um, um, Ninetales. You could play so many different versions of Zoroark
Mm-hmm.
that were so good that I feel like Zoroark is one of the closer things, at least within the last like 3 years, 4 years, that you could get to that. But I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Garbodor variants, Espeon Garbodor, you like Xander Pairs Espeon Garbodor, you have Drampa Garb, you know.
But each of these lists is like very different, right? Like, we can combine Victini variants, but
Well, like ADPZ doesn't vary too much.
yeah, no, it's exactly, but to me that it's a different kind of broad meta where
Yeah.
it's not like there's a few cards that are like the anchor and then you just build a version around that. It's like no, everything is kind
Professor's Research, Marnie.
Well, yeah, but like those are like
Boss.
but like outside of that, you don't have like Pokemon other than Dedenne and Crobat, right? Like support Pokemon.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But it's
just being a jackwagon.
Anywho, I think it's a very interesting meta, and I can't wait for the ability to play in person again.
I do think that I definitely have been enjoying this meta more than previously, and I think that Single Strike Urshifu is my favorite deck right now. Love that deck. It's a lot of fun. I love it. It's not going to win every single game, but I feel like I win enough to where like I'm enjoying the more casual play that I've been doing right now.
Well, do you want to we were going to talk about a couple of things after this meta discussion. Do you want to have your like rant PSA, or do you want to go really quickly into what I was chatting?
Let's go with because mine's not really, I mean, mine's a PSA. It's just like a, anyways, go on, Sean.
Well, I was going to say, I mentioned like, I can't wait to play in person. I have a sneaking suspicion that right now, like the next month or two, so April and May, part of May, is probably going to be one of the best times to buy singles for cards that will not be rotating. And basically what I mean, anything Sword and Shield on, right? I think it's a great time to buy singles because I don't think that the card, like everything in Pokemon relatively for singles is pretty cheap if you're not buying chase cards. You might have a couple of exceptions here and there. I think some of the like the Urshifus are still kind of expensive unnecessarily.
Yeah. It's like $23 for a Rapid Strike, and then it's like $18 for single, I think.
Which, I mean, for the regular VMAX versions, to be honest, I think it's a little steep given that it's not playable, because I think people look at battle styles and like, well, what should the chase card be? And they kind of turn that into a chase card unnecessarily. But aside from some weird anomalies, everything is super cheap right now. I just bought a bunch of singles this last weekend. And the reason I think now is in particular is a good time. I have a suspicion that Pokemon is planning to announce rotation and a tentative start date for CP tournaments again at the same day. I think that knowing that, at least in the US, I can't speak for Europe, but I'm hoping that, assuming that Europe and South America are getting some sort of progress on vaccine distribution, assuming that things can start back up in August, that's when rotation would happen. That's when a new season would happen. It would make sense for Pokemon to have that all happen at once, just logistically. And they usually announce rotation in like June?
It's like, yeah, it's here. Well, I think usually it would have been announced already. I think it would have announced like this week or something like that. But obviously with pandemic and stuff, you have no idea what's going on.
I'm trying to find like when April 27th, actually.
Yeah, so here in a couple weeks.
So that's when they announced the rotation last year. It was late April. I think they'll hold up. I don't think they'll announce it immediately. But I think that, April and sometime in May, they might make the announcement that they are going to do the rotation. They'll tell you what it is. And I think sometime near there or on the same day, they'll announce a tentative start, assuming things progress. So that's why I think
I think it'll be a week before the Chilling Reign.
Oh, when they announce the rotation?
I think it'll be a week before Chilling Reign.
And Chilling Reign is in
Crobat
June,
V is a
right?
$5 card right now, Sean.
Right, and so that's the thing. If you buy now, you're going to get a lot of these cards super cheap. I don't think they'll all jump up in price a ton, but Crobat will certainly jump up when everybody realizes you need 2 of them for most decks now.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it goes from a $5 card to a $10 card, right? And Cricketune, I think, is another card that, like, you know, nobody is buying it right now because there's no competitive play with a physical card. It's not a sexy card, right? But I think Cricketune could be a one.
I got a full art Cricketune, and it's a beautiful mustache of a card.
But I think that's a card that, you know, it could be a one of in a lot of decks, and that could be like a probably a $10 card if it's a one of, kind of like, what was the card that pulled a supporter out of deck? Oh, there was
Lele?
Yeah, Tapu Lele. It's not going to be as good as Tapu Lele, but it could be like a tier below Tapu Lele. Anyways, that's my spiel. If you're excited about playing physical cards again, I think now is the time to buy.
I do agree with Sean. I think now is the time to buy some of those singles, like your Crobats, that you want to have, because I do firmly believe that when it's announced again, it's going to jump.
Yeah.
But anyways, the final thoughts of the day. You may have seen me on Twitter make a tweet about I'm not going to call anybody out, but just a general statement towards control players, about like promoting toxicity almost to control players. And one, I'm not going to rant about how you should stop being toxic towards control players, because I think that's a given. We've talked about that before or whatever. My main thing is, whether you watch YouTube videos, whether you watch Twitch streams, whether you listen to podcasts, whatever, please do not hold content creators to do no wrong, right? So like Sean and I, we are human. We mess up. We may make a mistake, you know?
We will. We do.
Yeah, we will. Like we're probably going to make a mistake sometime in the podcast. Maybe it's not something like complete cancellation, but you know what I mean,
I'm
Sean.
telling everybody to buy cards now, and it's going to plummet in 2 months, and I'm going to be like,
no. But the thing is, looking through the replies of this specific person, it was very apparent that like everyone was like, hallelujah, pray. And everybody who probably follows me on Twitter, is on Twitter in the Pokemon card space, knows exactly who I'm talking about. And it's just time again. It's every other week we're hearing some apology of a tweet, you know, of some sort of whatever. And it's every time it's a flood of replies of like, you're fine, dude, you're cool. When's the next video coming out? Like, hold people accountable. That's all that I ask. Do not ever hold myself, do not hold Sean above like justice.
Who's just, or is it Team A Drive is the person you were talking about?
I mean, I wasn't going to call him out by name, but yes,
it
was A Drive that I'm referring to.
If you're listening to this pod and you have Twitter, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. But that's my rant of the day. Also, be nice to control players. It's a valid archetype that actually doesn't do well right now in the format. So
yeah,
shut up.
Yeah, overall, I would say I saw all the tweet stuff too. Yeah, like just, you know, it's a twofold thing, I think, for me, which is like, one, you know, if you're playing against anything, whether or not you're a content creator, like if somebody's playing and they're not cheating or whatever, just, I don't know, don't be a jerk about it. If you don't want to play them, you know,
like I hate
just
donk
quit.
decks. I hate donk decks, Sean, and Expanded, and I think it's the dumbest deck to ever exist. You know, why should I not be allowed to play a single card in the game? But do I blame anybody for playing donk decks? No, it's actually a really crazy, easy way to climb ladder and get those ladder points. And you know what? It's actually a really good deck to teach sequencing, in my opinion.
I will say the difference with the donk deck, though, is you only have to experience a donk deck for like a minute or two. But you have to...
No, you have to experience it for like 5 minutes.
Oh, because they're searching all their deck. But still...
Yeah, they literally play an entire 60-card deck in the first turn of the game.
Yeah.
And so you sit there and you munch on your popcorn, and if they don't KO you, they automatically scoop. So no matter what, you're not going to play the game. They either scoop because they lose the coin flip, or they knock you out, or they scoop because they couldn't knock you out. It's very easy to climb ladder with Donk.
Oh my gosh. Well, just be nice to people. This is a game.
Yeah, just
chill.
stop. Nobody's cheating. Just God. I just hate everybody, and just
that's why
praise the content creators that do good in the world. That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and that's why I want physical games back, because online just it breeds so much weird interactions that you don't get when you're sitting across from a human.
I feel like the online realm has been almost like growing. I feel like this is just a general thing now. I feel like the online realm has shown like more and more toxicity as we move into the pandemic.
Yeah, I think people are like the initial wave of like, oh, be kind to everybody. We're all in this together. Like that's all gone. Everybody's exhausted from the pandemic, and I think it's just like, nah, I'm done.
It's be nice, smile. If somebody says something mean, don't say anything back. Say have a good day, because they probably need it.
Be kind, rewind.
Be kind, rewind. That's the quote of the day, but also that's the Metapod Pokemon TCG podcast that revolves around the evolving meta.
Okay, bye.
Have a great day.